Hello and welcome to the Keep Your Cool Mama podcast, where we are encouraging the everyday mom to pursue her dreams and discover her own greatness. Hey, cool mamas. This is Sheilah, and you are listening to episode 10 of the Keep Your Cool Mama podcast. Happy New Year, ladies. Welcome to season 2. Yes. We're officially on season 2, a new beginning, new topics, some things we are revisiting, but we're here. And I'm excited to share and encourage you all in 2020. Isn't that crazy? 2020, whole new decade. It's going to be an amazing year. I can feel it. And I wanted to start 2020 and season 2 off with a series devoted to self-love. Because honestly, a lot of us moms just aren't loving ourselves properly or enough. I mean, we say we love ourselves, but are we showing ourselves the same love that we are professing? If you are, I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Heck, teach us that are not doing it well enough how to do it better. But if not, then my hope is that this series will cause you to self-reflect and just make some necessary changes, because we've all been there, and some of us are currently there. Some of us have gotten some self-love from ourselves but fall off. But we're in this together. So I just want to make sure that you give yourself the love that you deserve, simply put. Because the thing is, no one in this world can love you like you can. Nobody can. Not your spouse, not your friends, not your family members. Nobody can love you quite like you can, because you know yourself better than anyone. And even if there are areas of our lives or our personalities or that we need to get more familiar with ourselves about, you know yourself more than anybody. So as you can tell by the title of this episode, we're discussing how important it is to compliment yourself. So the focus today is for you to compliment yourself, and not just sometimes, but often. It's important. So let me ask you, how often do you stop and tell yourself how proud you are of yourself? Think about it, because I know for me, I don't do it often enough. And I'm not sitting here behind the microphone trying to tell you I have it all figured out and I'm going to tell you how to do it. But I'm going to tell you that although I don't do it as often as I should, but when I do it, I know how it affects me in the most positive way. So, because there was a time when I didn't do it at all. I was constantly putting myself down. And it's dangerous for us to thrive strictly on compliments from other people. Self-acceptance all depends on how much you accept and appreciate yourself without even knowing what others think about you. So don't get me wrong, compliments are nice and should definitely be given between us all. And sometimes they're hard to receive too, which is also an indication that you're not loving yourself enough to think that you deserve a compliment. But I personally love complimenting my loved ones and even complete strangers, because honestly, one compliment can go a long way. It could be that one thing that turns someone's day or even their whole life around. Just think about that one time where someone told you, "Oh, I love your hair," or "That's a really cute outfit," or, "I just really love your spirit. You're just so kind and nice." Didn't that do something for you? I feel like we should be doing that for ourselves. But complimenting yourself sets the tone for self love. I honestly believe that. And I started noticing that I was more disrespectful to myself than I was kind. The negative thoughts that was going through my mind, the things that I would say out loud to myself when I made a mistake, it was just complete and utter disrespect. And I wouldn't allow anyone else to treat me like that. So why would I treat myself like that? So now that I'm aware of that, I try to recognize when I am doing good at something or like something about myself. I have to be honest though. It does feel weird sometimes, especially when I say it out loud, because I always like to remain humble, and complimenting myself appeared to me as being vain. But, I had to remind myself that recognizing the good in myself is not vain whatsoever. There is nothing wrong with recognizing how amazing you are. It doesn't mean that I think I'm better than anyone. All it does is imply that I have appreciation for who I am and who I am becoming. So it's nothing wrong with complimenting yourself. There's nothing vain about it or conceited. And it took me a long time to get to that point. So I have started complimenting myself out loud, like I said. Yes, out loud. And I say it out loud before I can convince myself that it isn't true. Because, when I say it in my head, those thoughts that I'm used to hearing kick in quick and say, "Oh, well, that's not true. You shouldn't be saying that about yourself. But remember when you did this wrong, or remember when this didn't look right," or whatever it is. It's something about hearing my own voice say nice things about myself that gives me the confidence to accept my own compliment. Weird, I know, but if you can feel me, let me know. And I recognize that there are some things we aren't particularly happy about with ourselves. I mean, we've all been there. We're all currently there, I'm sure. Um, but it's important to remember that you can change any part of yourself that you aren't happy with. It's completely up to you what changes and what stays the same within you and around you. Doing something about it alone deserves a compliment. So once you decide that you want to change something and you actually do something about it, you should compliment yourself for that. That is compliment worthy. So for example, I wasn't happy with my skin and it still gets on my nerves to this day. There's always a pimple popping up. Every time it's my lady time of the month. Every time it's time for my period to start, a whole lot of pimples just show up. And then it'll clear up. Then that time will come again. But, I knew that there was something that I could do. But let me be honest, it was very hard for me to compliment myself on my appearance. So I started drinking more water and created a skin regimen that worked for me. Looked at YouTube videos, asked different people that I think has beautiful skin advice about, what they do to keep their skin so beautiful. And, I always had nice skin growing up and I love my beautiful brown skin. It took me a minute to get there. That's a whole nother conversation. But I just started doing those things like drinking more water and creating a skincare regimen that worked for me. And I was proud of myself for doing the research and doing the work to figure this problem out. So I compliment myself on that often, even while I wait for my skin to get exactly where it is that I need it to go to be. And I realized that at the age of 34, um, things are going to change about my body, about my skin that just aren't the way it used to be when I was a young girl. And although things can't be exactly the way I want them to be, there are things that I can do to get it to a place where I'm satisfied and, still happy with myself. So I compliment myself about that. And this helps honestly to change my mindset and still appreciate myself as I evolve and change. So just saying, Sheilah, you're doing good on this. And when someone notices, like, oh, your skin looks nice, thank you, I say to them. And then I come back to myself and think, wow, what you're doing is really working. Keep up the good work. Kind of like we tell our kids when they're doing something good, and we reinforce what they did and let them know how proud we are of them. So I let myself know that I'm proud of myself. And there is nothing wrong with letting myself know that I'm proud of myself, right? Now, although there may be things about ourselves that we aren't completely fond of or can't change, we can grow to love those things. Or we can just come to accept those things. And even if it takes us a minute to get there to love them, if we get to the place where we can accept them and not put ourselves down for what we don't appreciate about it, that's a good place to be. So for me, when I was growing up, I hated my nose, hated it. And, because I have a wide nose and I have, a very strong feature where my nose and lips come into play. And it's not petite and small the way most people would like for their nose to be. And I've had people make fun of my nose as a child, and people can be so cruel and so mean, and that's why I am very adamant about how I speak to my children and letting them know how, handsome they are and inside, how, amazing they are inside and out, of course, because the things that people say, they stay with you for years and years, even as an adult, even after we have our own children. That stuff stays with you. And when things like that happen to you, it makes it hard for you to compliment yourself or to think good things about yourself when people have the audacity to speak out of line and tell you what they think about you. When honestly, it's a reflection of them when they have something negative to say about your features, something that you can't change, something that you had no conversation that God was saying, hey, could you make sure my nose is like this or this is like that when you create me? The audacity. But I decided that I was going to embrace my features and appreciate my beauty, my unique beauty. And I love myself now. It took me a while to get there, and it took me separating what other people thought from what I thought. Now, granted, you know, my loved ones and even strangers or whoever it may be have told me that, have given me compliments and things like that, but that doesn't matter. What matters is what I think about myself, because if I base what I think on what other people think about me, I'll never be happy about myself, ever. So the shift started happening for me when I gave birth to my boys. When my oldest son was born, he came out with the exact same nose as me, the exact same nose. And when I saw his nose, I didn't think, oh God, why does he have my nose? I loved it. I absolutely loved his nose. And knowing that he came from me, this amazing boy came from myself and my husband. And he's amazing. And I loved his nose. Then my middle son came, who is my twin, by the way. And when he was born, he also had my same nose. And I'm like, wow, okay, all right. And after, I had my older sons, my two oldest sons, I started loving my own nose even more. And then here comes my little baby, my youngest son, and he has my nose too. So, I swear, I really do believe that God placed features about myself that I had a hard time embracing on my children, knowing that I would love them beyond words, and using that as an example to show me that the love that I have for them is the same love that I should have for myself. So I was so in love with my boys that it caused me to fall in love with the same feature I always hated. So now I compliment myself on my full nose and my full lips. That self-love took time. It took a long time for me to get there, but it took me not liking how I felt about myself. It took me, when I talk to my boys and try to make sure that they have a good amount of self-confidence. They have the self-confidence that they need to make it in this world. It took me, trying to teach them those things to understand you need that same type of confidence that you're teaching your boys, because otherwise, how are they going to believe it if you're not even confident in yourself? So it took some time. And of course, I still have my insecurities, but I know it's possible. And God created me in His image. So everything about me that He created is beautiful. And that goes for you too. So anything that you're battling with that is keeping you from loving on yourself, whether it's a physical feature or is something else that can't be touched or seen that is going on the inside of you, or whatever it is, God made you perfect just the way you are. And it might sound cliche or cheesy or whatever, but it's true. And in order to move forward in anything that we do, it all starts with loving ourselves the way that God loves us, the way that our children love us, the way that our spouses, significant others love us. We have to show and give ourselves that same type of love, period. And I have a homework assignment for you. I'm going to keep episodes pretty short this season, not very long, because, I know you're a mom. You have things to do. You have kiddos that are looking up to you, that they need things, saying mommy every 5 minutes. So I'm going to keep the episodes short. And but I'm also going to give you homework assignments at the end of the podcast. And with doing that, it's just an extension of the podcast. Instead of having an hour-long podcast, I have about 30 minutes. And then you have homework that you can do, self-work homework that you can do. that you can carry through the next episode or however long it takes you to do so. But, if you need to get a journal specifically for the Keep Your Cool Mama podcast, that would be perfect. Or a notebook, just regular notebook. So you can keep these things written down so that you can go back and take a look at it. But I have a homework assignment for you. And I want you to compliment yourself on 5 things. Now, for some of you, this may be easy to do. It may be something that you think about, but you never really say out loud, and you know that you're good at, or you know that you like about yourself, but you're afraid to compliment yourself. Some of you, it may be hard to come up with 5 things. Use your family members, use your friends if you need to. I've mentioned this in a past episode, and asking my friends and family what they think about me. And that helped me to appreciate myself more. So if that's what you need to do to come up with those 5 things, please do. It can be your physical features, something about your personality or your character, something you accomplished. All I want you to do is get used to saying kind things to yourself about yourself. That's the goal. Because the more you do it, the more the more you love on yourself, the more you will self-love will start to just be second nature. It won't take a lot for you to do. And then your life will just start to move in the direction that you want it to go on a consistent basis. So 5 things. Write down 5 things that you love about yourself. Compliment yourself. Give yourself a compliment, girl. You deserve it. And you can say these things out loud like I do. Go ahead and look like a crazy woman. It don't matter. You know you're not crazy. Say it out loud. It makes it real. Trust me. I say things out loud often. Or write them down. And writing them down is also a good option because you can come back to them when you want to as a reminder. And just don't hesitate to show yourself some love. Or you could do both, You can write them down and say it out loud. Whatever you choose, I just want you to do the homework. And I don't know if you're going to do it or not, but I hope that you do. And I would love to hear from you and how that process went. So you can email me at keepyourcoolmama@gmail.com with your responses. And you don't have to share your compliments with me, but just let me know how it went for you. Was it easy? Was it hard? So as we begin our journey together to more self-love, I want to share just a little part of the book, The 4 Agreements, which, by the way, is the perfect book to read when you're on the self-love journey. I want to read this because it's perfect for what we're talking about. This is on page 20 of the 4 Agreements. The more self-love we have, the less we will experience self-abuse. Self-abuse comes from self-rejection, and self-rejection comes from having an image of what it means to be perfect and never measuring up to that ideal. Our image of perfection is the reason we reject ourselves. It is why we don't accept ourselves the way we are and why we don't accept others the way they are. I love that. So, with that said, remember when you aren't loving yourself, then you're experiencing self-abuse. And what you're giving yourself is self-abuse. So make it your business to love on yourself better than anybody in this world can love on you. Love on yourself daily. Tell yourself that you love yourself every day. You know how you tell your kids or your family members, loved ones, I love you? Have you ever tried telling yourself, I love you. Thank you for being you. it's empowering. Let yourself know how much you love yourself. And after you tell yourself how much you love yourself, show yourself how much you love yourself. Because I love you guys. And I thank you for listening. And I'm looking forward to season 2 and us having more conversations together. Happy New Year. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye. Before I let you go, seriously, before I let you go, please subscribe and leave a review with 5 stars if this podcast is inspiring you and helping you to grow. Let's spread the positivity so that we are visible to other mamas out there trying to find her own greatness. And if you need some advice or guidance regarding your own personal growth while tackling motherhood, please email me at keepyourcoolmama@gmail.com. Love you guys.